Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Just like you guys requested, I've been sharing a few videos with some tips and tricks on how to keep your fresh vegetables in your fridge or your freezer and how to preserve them during this time of quarantine or just in general. I know a lot of us are not going out to the grocery store as much anymore to get a lot of fresh veggies, so I wanted to share with you guys how to keep them in your fridge or freezer at your disposal for when you want to cook any of your favorite Guyanese dishes. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing how I cut and dry and freeze my okra, so this way I can prepare my favorite okra dishes. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and rinse your okra really well under some cool water. Once you've rinsed it out really well, you're going to go ahead and leave it in your colander and allow it to strain, and then you can go ahead and take a paper towel or a dish towel and you can go ahead and pat them dry. You want them to be as dry as possible when you start cutting. So now remember, okra can be a very slimy thing when you are cutting it, so if you follow my little tips and tricks, I promise you will not have all of that slime on your hands as you are cutting them up. As I said before, you want to make sure that they are fully dry before you start to cut it, and once you start to cut it, you're going to go ahead and chip off or cut off the stems. And once you cut off all of the stems, you're going to start to slice them into pretty thin strips. I like my okra slices on the thinner side, but I do know some people that like to make them very thick. I would say that mine are about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick, very much on the thin side, but if you wanted to make them about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick, feel free to do so as well. Just know that when you're cooking them and you make it that big, they do not get as crispy as some people like it. So I'm just going to continue chipping them up as you guys see here. This is the way that I like to chop up my okra, in between my fingers with the knife, but if this is not your way or the way that you're comfortable of chipping up or chopping any vegetables, you might want to go ahead and get yourself a chopping board and chop them up that way. So I just wanted to give you guys a little close-up of how I'm chopping them up. I'm using my thumb and my index finger as support to go ahead and glide my knife through the okra and slice it into very thin slices. Now, I wanted to mention that while slicing your okra, you don't want to really touch up all of those pieces that you already sliced up with your fingers, because the more you touch the okra and the more you aggravate it with your fingers, you will get more slime out of them, and that is not what we want, or else you will have a big mess as you're cooking it. Now, if you're not comfortable cutting it this way, by all means use your chopping board and slice it right on there. It might be a little slower or it might be a little faster for you, just depending on what's more comfortable. This is the way that my grandmother chops all of her vegetables, in between her fingers, and she does it about 5 times faster as me, but this is also the way that I do enjoy cutting my okra. Once all of your okra is sliced up really well, you're going to go ahead and dump it out onto a cookie sheet or any type of long tray. The reason why we're going to do this is so this way we can dry out those pieces of okra. Now you have a few choices. You can go ahead and leave it out in the hot sun for maybe 1 to 2 hours and it'll dry up really well, or you can leave it in your house outside in room temperature for about the whole day or maybe overnight, and then they will dry up really well. So my okra has been sitting out on my kitchen table overnight in the AC. And again, if you wanted to, you could leave it out in the hot sun for maybe just 1 or 2 hours and it'll dry out just as well. But as you guys can see, when I'm touching it, it is no longer sticking to my fingers. I don't feel any slime, and they are nice and loose and dry in the pan. So once you are happy with how dry it is, you're going to go ahead and empty it into a freezer-safe Ziploc bag. Remember, if you don't use a freezer-safe Ziploc bag and use something that is cheap and thin, it will actually tend to freezer burn as it sits in the freezer. Now what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to zip it up, and my recommendation is to go ahead and date it so you know when you stuck it in your freezer, and this will stay in your freezer for months at a time for whenever you are ready to cook your favorite okra dishes. So if you enjoyed this quick tutorial today, guys, please go ahead and give it a nice thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed yet, and make sure you leave all of your wonderful comments down below. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye everyone. So you all already know that since I shared with you guys on how to preserve your okra and keep it in the freezer, I will be sharing a recipe very soon on my channel on how to go ahead and cook the okra straight from the freezer and still get it brown and crispy just how we all love it. So I'll share that very soon.